Welcome everybody to another fun night of tech. This is Bob Hollis again, and tonight we're going to be looking at quite a few things, but mostly focused on search engine optimization, analytics, and artificial intelligence and machine learning tools, which you might think are completely beyond the reach or need of somebody with a small business, but you might be surprised to learn what's out there and available for free. So we'll spend some time talking about that as well. So we'll start here with, of course, California Capital is the host of all of these classes. So visit their website. There are a lot of great tools here to assist you with other things, with expanding your business, online training, such as we're doing tonight, and the schedule. And of course, resources for working with government agencies. You'll be probably looking at a lot of things and wondering where you can gain access to the tools and things we're talking about this evening. And so again, I'll remind you that on our schedule, our class site here at conferencereg.com, I've added some links to some of the things we'll be looking at. Here's the main page for search engine optimization, analytics, and free and easy AI tools. Yeah, we're using AI pretty broadly to include things like machine learning and a lot of different types of automated processes that might not be the classical definition of AI at all times, but in general, it fits the concept of how people view AI. So when you want to, just come back here and you can click to view some of the materials that we're looking at today. And of course, this is being recorded, and that will go up on our regular website. So right here, if you go to the recordings page, you can see that we have all of our first 5 sessions up, and this is session 6, which will sit right here. And some people have told me that, or made a comment, a very good piece of feedback, that it's a little bit hard to follow the videos because you don't know where to go to get a particular piece of information. So in the future, I'm going to see if I can put together a set of videos that are little 2 or 3 minute segments on how to do each thing that's usually done in a WordPress site. Then I'll build those into a library of resources. So you won't have to watch a whole video if you just want to know how to alter an image in a post or something like that. You can go to a 2-minute video that'll show just that. But in the meantime, what might be helpful is pay attention to what tab we're on. I save groups of bookmarks and go to live pages rather than doing a typical PowerPoint presentation, because that way we can be a lot more live and interactive. And so when we do that, you can see that you'll be able to, there we go. Thank you for that comment, Trina. Someone just told me that she was unable to see the screen, so I think we were frozen on the home screen here. So that was the first page, and then here on the second page, I just pointed out that this is our home page here, and under this class where we have session 6, tonight's date, and search engine optimization, analytics, and free and easy AI tools. That's where you can gain access to the resources we'll be covering tonight. And then I pointed out that our recordings are here. And as another person gave me feedback that they wouldn't know where to go in these videos. So what I do is I save a bunch of pre-bookmarked tabs that I open. So what you might be able to do in the interim while I'm working on the series of tutorials, which will take a while, but I'll give you access once they're ready, is just look at what tab I'm on when we're talking about any particular subject. And you might make a note yourself of what time it is when we do that. And that way you'll know in a 2-hour video where to go, or just fast forward and watch as the different tabs highlight until we get to the section that you wanted to know more about. So good feedback from everybody. Thank you for that. I'm always looking for good feedback to make things better. So with that, again, tonight's class is search engine optimization, also known as SEO. That's what we'll be referring it to as for most of the night. And then analytics, you can't manage what you don't measure. And then some of these artificial intelligence tools that can make life a lot easier, especially for a single administrator trying to oversee both running a business and maintaining a website and social media presence and digital outreach tools. The more we can automate, the more it works for us. Then, of course, big business has been doing this for quite a long time, and they take advantage of it and you get all the gains from it. But small business owners haven't had the opportunities or access to tools to allow them to do the same sort of thing. And they're not big enough to hire experts in AI to build these things from scratch. So we'll go through that and look at what kind of tools are available for free or very low cost that will allow you to compete with any of the bigger companies out there. Of course, when we talk about search engine optimization, the king of the hill there is definitely Google, and they kind of created the whole thing. Now there are others. You want to also think about Bing and Yahoo, and especially YouTube if you have videos. Many people are unaware that YouTube is the second most used search engine behind Google. And so if you have any type of video content, put it on YouTube and use these same techniques for creating titles, descriptions, and tags in YouTube to make sure that your content comes up. And YouTube is a good place to host it for several reasons if you have video content, depending, of course, on your situation. If it's paid video content, then Google's probably not a very good place to host it. You might want to host it directly on your server to maintain full control and full control over the intellectual property, or as much as possible. No matter what you do, if somebody pays for access, they can always record their screen. But sticking to the search engine optimization angle for now, YouTube can be used as another driver. When people come and see the content, you always want to talk about your website or have a link right there so that people can visit the site if they're watching the video. And what I like to do is create the YouTube videos and then use a tool in the WordPress website or any website that shows those videos in a gallery type situation. So people can click on the videos and watch them. But if they're on your website, they're going to stay on your website. If they see them on YouTube, you drive them to your website. But you always want to drive everybody to your website. That's kind of your central core of communications and possibly your whole business if you're doing online e-commerce or something like that. So if you go to this guide, and this is what is linked on the homepage of our class page that I just looked at a moment ago, you'll see they cover quite a bit, and they do it in all non-technical terms. So if you want to read through this and learn a lot more, then you'll get that from this. It's the kind of thing that you can read and go through in probably less than an hour, and you can dig in on some of the general guidelines that are pretty simple. Making sure you've got HTTPS, URL structure, qualifying, you'll see what that means when you dig in there, browser compatibility, content, etc. And of course, making your links crawlable. And then they tell you a little bit about how to do testing to see how you're doing there. But they also, so that's your kind of textbook guide to get started. But they also provide a new tool now. This used to be called Google Webmaster Tools, and now it's called Google Search Console. Now this is different than Google Analytics, but it's a completely free tool, and you'll want to set this up for any website that you have. If Google provides free tools, they're usually good to use, especially since, again, they're kind of the king of search engines, and whatever works with their search engine algorithm is likely to work about the same with any other algorithm. So if you're placing high in Google, you're likely to place high in Bing and Yahoo searches as well. But not always, and there are ways to specifically optimize for different search engines. But we're going to stick with Google just for the context of this class today due to time limitations and the amount of resources they have and them being really the benchmark. So you could set any site up. This one happens to be a Mill Valley refuse, which is a hauling site in Mill Valley for recycling, etc. And this is a live site we're looking at here, looking at the results. Then you can see what kind of information it gives us. These are basics that we can get some general reports from, but we really want to get most of those reports from Google Analytics. The primary purpose of Google Search Console is to optimize your site. So you can come through and here's the overview. You can look at performance, explore your property's performances on Google search, including impressions, positions, click-throughs, top query strings. It'll inspect your URLs and give you information on that. You can do that with any URL if you need to, and make sure that you don't have broken links. Oh, let me get back there. Sorry about that. Need to refresh here. Okay. And you want to put in a sitemap. There are instructions on how to do all of these things, but a sitemap is what lets Google crawl your site well and know what it's supposed to be seeing and what it's supposed to be rendering results on. Here's a speed tester, and you want to test mobile and desktop. Remember that your probably 50% or more of your traffic is going to be coming through mobile. This one says experimental, but there are several other tools out there like Google PageSpeed, for example, that you can use for testing load speed. And I'm going to show you a couple of those in a second because that's pretty important. Here's mobile usability, errors, zero issues. I don't know if it's really scanning this well or not. Some of these things might not be even fully developed yet. But this is where you'll get information on your mobile rendering that can tell you whether or not you need to make some adjustments. So they're saying no issues here and 132 valid, but they're also giving some pointers. Text too small to read and clickable elements too close together. So I can take a look at those and make adjustments as needed. So anyway, I don't want to go through all of these, but I want to expose you to them so you can see what you have here and what's available, again, all for free. And this is search.google.com. So that's where you would go to look at setting up search engine optimization or search your Google Search Console. Then you can put numbers of different sites on there. So all the websites you have, you can add to one account. And then they're going to want you to prove ownership. But when you go to set this up, they'll tell you how to do that. Another thing that you want to do for search engine optimization that a lot of people neglect is set up your images before you upload them or while you're uploading them. So here's a whole sheet on SEO checklist for images, where when you're talking about first composing your image, use your original when you can, remove text when you can, remove anything that's irrelevant. So don't just have random images up there. And for galleries, you can put them in as single images. They'll be read better. When you're preparing an image, try to use 4:3 or 16:9 ratio. Scale your images to fit the dimensions that you need. Use high definition images. Next gen formats is just talking about not using older types of formats like that aren't usually used on websites these days, like a TIFF format and things of that nature. And then compress them so that they load faster. Use descriptive titles. So we'll talk about when we add an image on a WordPress site, which we will do in a minute, and I'll show you where we're talking about this. Make sure that you're putting in information relevant to the image. So we'll get into that in a second. Using a browser cache is important. Using a content distribution network. This all lets them load faster, and making sure that they're responsive means they're going to work better on mobile devices. Identifying the image, again, we'll be going through that in a moment. And then there's some other things you can do, like creating an image sitemap or social media tags. They'll help a little, but if you take care of these main issues, then you're going to be in pretty good shape in terms of your images. And I'm going to be talking about Yoast SEO in a little while, but there are many options, and I'm not advocating for one over another. I don't get paid by anybody to make those types of recommendations. So I'm agnostic, and I use whatever tool works the best for the client. In this case, Yoast does seem to be the market dominator. But if you'd like to see some other options, this is from Elementor, and that's the page builder that we're using on the class site and that I'm recommending on most of our student sites. So in fact, all of them now that I think about it. And so this is a good place to go to learn more about who they think is good, because it's going to work well with that tool. And here they talk about 6 different ones. I'm familiar with Squirrely, SEO, and Yoast. I've not used these others, but Yoast is the one that really dominates the market. And so, well, they say right there, when you think of Yoast SEO plugins, Yoast SEO is the one that really works, the most that most people know about. And it's got, well, as they say here, but we'll look in a second, active on over 5 million sites with a 4.9 rating, 26,000 reviews. That's pretty impressive for a WordPress plugin. And here are the instructions. So it walks you right through how to do everything. That's just a basic overview provided by Elementor. But when you get into Yoast itself, then you can get a lot more details. And they have a free and a pro version. I've always just used the free version because, well, technically I don't even need the free version. I know how to do this stuff, and I don't need an extra plugin to make it happen. But a lot of people don't want to do it without a guide, or a guide is very useful. They haven't spent as much time as me figuring out how SEO works. So it's very helpful to have a guide. And that's what Yoast provides. So you can see there's a premium version and a free version. I don't know anybody using the premium version, and I've not installed it anywhere myself, so I don't know if it's really worth using it or not. But Yoast SEO Free provides really everything you'll need. And if you want to use more than one keyword or key phrase, it looks like that's one of the benefits here. But really, Google doesn't really work on keywords anymore. It's not really what it's all about. So at least not in the classical definition of keywords. So these are all the things you can do for free. And I guess it just gives a more powerful version of something that you know, if you want to pay for it. So when you come into, let's see here, here's some instructions and also free training. So if you want to start with Yoast, you can use the free Yoast SEO plugin training. This one is a subscription for all these courses. This one is just to get to know Yoast, but that's really all you need. I don't think, well, I can't say because I haven't taken the courses, that I've taken the courses at Stanford on search engine optimization, and I don't think there's anything in Yoast that would not have been covered there. But you can just, to get to know the program, go ahead and try the free session, and you can usually find out anything you want to know on YouTube. So I should emphasize that more because it's a really underutilized resource. Just to give us some idea here, let's go to YouTube. And I'm doing this as an example of why you probably don't need the pro version of training. So if I just go to Yoast SEO, and we may as well say 2019, make sure you get the latest version because there'll be stuff going back for years and years. Here we go. So you can see here's a 40-minute class. How long is that one? 36 minutes, 20 minutes. You can see there's just hundreds and hundreds of them, literally. Then you might be able to, if you want to learn one thing specifically, do that. So you might want to say, for example, look at how to get a sitemap from Yoast SEO into Google. So that's a 3-minute video. You don't have to watch a 30-minute video to see how to do one thing. But you can see how much information there is here. These are all Yoast tutorial videos for Yoast SEO. So that's always a good place to go if you want to look for free tutorials on, in fact, I'm going to save that here for future use. There we go. Okay, so how do you put it in? What do you do with it? So here we are. I'm logged in the back of our class site, and I just clicked pre-class. I went to plugins, add new, and then I did a search here on Yoast, and this is what comes up. So again, here's the primary tool that we're looking for, and it's already installed and active on our site. But I wanted to also show you how many options there are for Yoast. When you see a lot of third-party plugins that are designed around another plugin, you know that plugin has a lot of weight in the WordPress world, or other people wouldn't keep developing for it. So just typing in the word Yoast came up with 670 plugins, and some of those might be tangentially related, but most of them are directly. So there you've got, again, Yoast SEO is the primary. And there's just, you can read through and see what these are all about. But there'll be a lot of add-ons. Then here's one for rank math. There are specific SEO tools for WooCommerce. So lots of information that you can get for free. And now once it's active and installed, all you do is drop down here to where it says SEO. That's a Y for Yoast SEO. And I just installed this, so nothing's set up on it yet. So when you first come through, and of course, it's as expected, and I'm glad it's working, but it said huge SEO issue, you're blocking access to robots. I did that on purpose because this is just a class development site, and I don't want to do search engine optimization on it. But it's nice that it found that right away and told me I need to change my reading settings. And that's where it wants me to uncheck the box for search engine visibility. Right now I'm blocking robots because I don't want Google to crawl this site. That's really a site just for our class. I'm not trying to promote anything. But as you go through, and I'm going to ignore this for now, it'll want you to use the configuration wizard to get started. And it'll just walk you through, is it under construction, should not be indexed. And this is a good process to go through. I'm not going to walk through the whole thing for our class, but it's just as simple as you see here. What does the site represent? A corporation, portfolio, a blog, and you've just walked through some simple questions, and that helps set it up for you. Then once it's all set up, you can go through, and each page will get a score. Let's see if I can get back there from here. Let's try this. Yeah, we'll go back to dashboard. And if I go into, it's giving me some other information here where it says 3 if it's got a number, and there's also 3 notifications there. It's telling me something's wrong. So it's going to give me tips and tell me things that I can do better on my site. And you can see already what it wants me to do. So if you just keep following the advice it gives you, you're going to be getting your site into pretty good positioning for search engine optimization. And then on each page, we'll just pull anyone up here. Let's say, well, we don't, because we're not crawling or anything, and we're not even completely set up, it's not showing over here. But what you'll see is this is an SEO score. So it'll give you a red, green, or yellow. And this is a readability score. So it'll even score your text and your grammar, and make sure that if it sees any errors, it'll alert you to them or tell you how you can make it better. And it's constantly improving as well. So it might even be a situation where it sees something that's wordy, and says, you can say this in 10 words instead of 32 and say the exact same thing. That's the type of thing that AI and machine learning keep helping with. And those types of tools keep getting built into these types of plugins. But for now, you don't need to worry too much, but it'll give you direct scores, and it'll give you specific advice on every page in your website. Now, when you first set it up, it's going to ask you about the types of things that you want to come up on for searches. And then that's what it uses as a foundation when it's giving you more guidance. And it'll do things like, let's see, I don't know if it'll work well with, let me look at it here. With not having everything set up, it might not be really working like it should. But what it'll do eventually is, you can see here, it wants to know what your focus key phrase is. So if this were a page on demo page, my focus key phrase might be student demonstration page for website development or search engine optimization. Then it's going to say, well, you need to have the word search engine optimization, and you need to have, these different words that'll give you a full analysis and related key phrases. And again, you can walk through each one of these tabs and it'll tell you what to do to make it better. And then it's also going to do it on readability. So it compares what you've written, your text, using the Flesch Reading Ease metric. So this copy scores 39.7 in the test, which is considered difficult to read. Try to make shorter sentences using less difficult words to improve readability. One thing I was surprised about when I started learning more about this stuff, and I suspect most of you would be as well, because we've overall got a pretty sharp group in this class, but the average reading level of the average adult in the United States is 8th grade. And that's not to talk down about anybody. It's a lot of people, once they're out of high school, they don't read a lot, or whatever the situation is. I don't mean to sound judgmental, just addressing the market condition. And that means that you should write at that level for your audience if it's a general populace. If you're writing for a technical audience or something like that, you can be a bit more advanced, but you still want to use good style. And when I talk about style, it's not flair, it's style as in the Chicago Manual of Style, where they discuss things like not using, third person type references in your sentences, speaking more directly of things that can clearly make your reading style stronger and easier to digest for your audience, regardless of their educational or academic reading levels. But not to get too deep into that, that's what we're talking about here. Sentence structure, transition words. So it'll help you improve your writing for your website. And that improves search engine optimization, believe it or not. And then it talks about what good results are as well. And here is social, and this is where you can do analysis that way as well and look at what you'd want to go in a Facebook title, description, image, etc. Okay, so that's generally how it works. And then you can just follow instructions on each page to build out your content. And then when you look at all pages, it's going to give you scores over here. So as long as you're all green or yellow, you're in pretty decent shape. If you see any reds, you might want to go back and address it. And when you read their recommendations, you might dismiss them and say, I get their point, but it's just not accurate in this case because my audience knows what all these words mean or these acronyms mean. Then you can dismiss the recommendation, but at least it gives you some automated guidance. So those tools together, between using the information that's taught here, making sure you've got HTTPS and following these recommendations, setting up your site on Google Search Console, making sure that you optimize images as well as your text, using Yoast or a similar tool to analyze your pages, and knowing what all of those things mean, you're going to be in pretty good shape to have a website that comes up high on search engine ranks. And one of the things that I often recommend is doing more microsites. So let's say that you have a website where you're going to sell clothing. So it's a broad clothing website, and you're trying to optimize yourself so that if somebody comes in and looks for coats or t-shirts or pants or skirts or jackets, you're going to come up high. Well, what you're also doing is diluting your site across the broad category of clothing. What you'd be better off doing is having one website for shirts, one website for pants, one website for hats, one website for whatever, other categories you might want to focus on. And then you optimize your site just for that. So think about what's going to do better. If I have perform better on a search engine, if I have one site with 30 pages and each page has content on different materials, or if I have a 30-page website that's all about nothing but pants, and somebody searches on pants, the one that's all about pants is probably going to rank much higher than the one that has 1 out of 30 pages about pants. And so that's a broad generalization, but the concept is solid. And so what people often do now, especially since you can set up one WordPress site and run multiple sites off of it, so you can really have one WordPress installation and 1,000 different websites that are all on that one installation, is people are using more microsites. And I have clients that are in all different fields that are even doing that. So for example, waste haulers used to have, one website for the hauler. Now they've got one website for their shredding services, one website for their compostables and selling compost, another website about just recycling, another website about electronics, because that way it's easier for people to find what they need and look for. And then you just cross-reference all those sites. So say you have the pants site and the shirt site, you're like, well, if somebody's coming to buy pants, they probably want a shirt too. Well, you can set up WooCommerce so that once they come in and they're starting to look at pants, then you can even automate the option for them to make a recommendation. If somebody goes to buy these pants, it's like, that's great. You might also be interested in a shirt that would go really well with these pants. Here's where you can pick that up. And your sites can work together and cross-reference each other. So people can still buy in a series or a package, but you'll come up faster and higher for your search engine optimization results. So anyway, that's where you can get the information for that. And again, back to YouTube for any types of tutorial videos you might need. And then follow through your page scores and keep improving them. And the way you'll see the results is in the second part of what we wanted to talk about. And I see a question that's come in. So do each of these microsites require its own domain name? Well, that's it depends. And there's different ways that you can do it. And it also would depend on how you wanted to render it. I'm going to show you an example right now of a client where I'm doing that. So here we have, this one is the Mojave Desert and Mountain Recycling Coalition. So here's this is a joint powers authority. It's comprised of numerous cities and community service districts throughout southeastern California, basically from the middle of San Bernardino County over to the Arizona border, and all the southeast desert and mountain regions, as you'd expect from the name. So what we have here are all these different groups and member agencies, and they each now want to have their own website. So what I did was rebuilt this one in let me duplicate this and log in here. And I'm going to pause my screen for just a second for security purposes, since we're recording and showing all of this until I get logged in. Okay, I've logged in, so you should, yep. You now see the back of my screen. So this is what you've been looking at, something similar to this, if you log in on your WordPress site. And you can see here we've got hundreds of posts and things being scheduled and moving through this site. It's pretty active. If we take a look at our posts, and I put all these posts through here for the most part, Mobius admin. So you can see we've got 988 published posts, 676 of them are mine. We have 9 scheduled, 22 drafts ready to be scheduled, and 23 pending review. And so we keep this pretty busy. We've got things going out every day that post here, and then they go out to 26 different Facebook pages and some Twitter accounts and LinkedIn accounts, all with a click of one button. And if that sounds exciting to you, good news. That's what we're covering in our next class. But to get back to answer the question of, do each of these microsites require its own domain? What you can do right now, this is just one WordPress installation. So I'd go in as the network admin to add plugins and adjust the settings and that sort of thing. But then for each one of these, I can create a site for just that town. And it's literally like its own brand new site. And so, but except for the URL. So I could have a URL that says what I want it to, where it would be, say, Yucca Valley Recycles. In that case, I would need to create a domain for Yucca Valley Recycles.com or .org, whatever I want it to be. Or I could use a system where it does a subfolder type of system. So if I went, for example, to California RMDZ, which is Recycling Market Development Zones, you can see it's got its own dashboard, it's its own independent site. But if I go here to visit site, the URL is going to be the main URL, urecycle.org. Sorry, I have so many things open in here that for the class that this is all moving slowly. But it's going to be / is what it's going to be. So it might be urecycle.org / RMDZ. So that's how you would do it if you just want to do it very simply and not have to register more than one domain. If you don't mind registering more than one domain and you want to do that to further delineate the sites, then you can use what's called domain mapping. And you can still set it up like this so you can see what popped up. And as I mentioned, we haven't done anything with this yet. We're just setting up the sites. We're going to start working on all of the themes and content for these soon. But for right now, you can see that domain would be urecycle.org / RMDZ. So if you had a site called, we use the clothing shop as an example. I happen to have a domain I'm not using right now, but it's called sierraretail.net. I thought about doing like a hiking mountain type store on that. So I could have something like sierraretail.net and optimize that for whatever I want to optimize it for. And then I could have a subsite called shirts, pants, hats, jackets, that would be all their own independent site, but it would still say urecycle.org / shirts / pants. So it would be a different domain, but not a distinctive domain. It would still have this as the root. If I use what's called domain mapping, then I could have say I had these domains, which I don't, but if I had sierrashirts.com, sierrapants.com, or anything, mountainpants.com, I could make each one of the subsites have its own domain so that it really looks more independent, but I could still cross-reference them to each other via the sites themselves. So for example, if this were urecycle.com or pants, then I could have all my pants sales here, and when somebody goes to click a pair of pants and buy it, it could say, while you're here, check out shirts, belts, shoes, whatever else, and those could link back to the other sites. Or even have those products embedded in your own site, but just optimize it for one product. And then you could clone each site and do your search engine optimization for a different product for each site. But so that's your answer. Normally, no, you don't have to create a new site for each, or new domain for each microsite. And it would look like this, but if you want to, you can. And to show you how easy it is to create a new site, if I were to go in here to my sites, network admin, and sites, because we have WordPress all set up, it takes seconds. So if I were to say add new, and I wanted to say whatever, let's say San Bernardino, something like that. It needs to be all lowercase. So that's it. And then I can put in what I want the title to be. And in this case, that would also include county, because we have some unincorporated areas of San Bernardino County that also need to be included in this whole program. And then my admin email, it should pop something up here like so. And so just from this, that few minutes, add site. And I did it. So if I go back now to my sites, there's San Bernardino County, and that's its own website now. So if I go into that dashboard, it's just like creating your own new small site from scratch, except it's done already in terms of being up. But you would create your themes, your pages, and all of that type of thing. Mail Poet. Well, I don't know what caused that, but oh, I see. It just wants me to activate some things. So I'm not going to bother with that right now. In fact, I'm going to delete that site after the class is over. But anyway, that's the point. You can see now that we're in here. I just need to update that one setting, but it's working. So we're at the San Bernardino County dashboard, and there's where I'd put my pages and all of that. And when you have a network like this, you can go into the main site and you can create content that distributes through all of the sites. And then each one of those sites could have their own Facebook page. And when you distribute content, it automatically gets posted to the site and to their own Facebook page. And that's what we're going to be doing here with this system that we're building right now. So that's what those microsites look like. It's exactly like having a Wix or a Squarespace type of platform, where it's like a hosted, or WordPress.com. So if you look at WordPress.com, that's where you pay to have, it's like Facebook or Wix or Foursquare, where you go in and you pay a subscription fee. So you build your site directly online, but you have to pay monthly, and it limits what you can do with it. And so there's only so many things you can do. So it's generally better to do what we're doing, to have a lot more control and be able to host it wherever you'd like to host it. Be able to add more than they let you there. Okay, so let's see, we're good. Wanted to make sure that my screen is still showing properly. All right, so with Google Analytics, that's where you can come in and see what's going on with all of your sites and pages. So you can come in and see what types of visits you're having, what direction they're going in, how many active users, what's going on between, say, September and October. So you can see we had 8,000 users in September, 580 came back in October. So we're getting a return rate of that amount. Then depending on your business, that might be good or bad. You know, if they're coming to our website mostly because they have an issue with something and it got solved the first time, they might not need to come back again. It's not like a retail store where you want them to keep coming back as much as possible. We've got a great bounce rate. You want your bounce rate to be under 50%. And that means that if you came up in a search engine and somebody came up in a search engine, clicked the link, looked at it for like 10 seconds and said, this isn't what I want, and just left your site, that's a bounce. If they then go to other pages or spend some time on your site, that's not a bounce. And a bounce rate of under 50% is considered good. At 33, that's very good, and it's come down 10% since we redesigned the site last month. And you can see site session durations. There are tons of reports that you can get. And you can also you can set up conversions. So you can set up goals, e-commerce goals, and look at what you can do with setting up certain pages that will funnel to purchasing decisions. It also tells you things like when your site's being used, so you know when the peak times are, where everybody's coming from, what countries. A lot of these might be hack or crawler bots, but you can figure that out too. And then what pages are people visiting the most? So you can see in this case, the vast majority of people are coming in to pay their bill. And then next they're looking at residential recycling. And then our resource recovery center support, so you can see right here which pages are getting the most views. Then page value is if you have something set up for a monetization, and you can see what's happening there. Here it tells us what our breakdown is by devices. So 62% are coming in by desktop, 34% mobile, 3.5% using tablets. So it gives you an idea, you can see, of all the different information you can get. And this is what you should base things on. These are your metrics. So keep track of your metrics and look at the metrics you want to improve. Make changes in your page content to improve those metrics, and then look at the results and just keep analyzing and improving. So like any other business, you want to be in a state of continuous improvement. And analytics will tell you whether or not you're achieving your goals. So how do you do all this with just a one-person shop? You know, it's a lot to get your arms around. And that's why we want to use tools that we can to automate things as much as possible. You know, whether it's banks using ATMs. I remember when that was a novelty, you know, and it seemed like a scam because first you know, they had you use the ATM, and it's like, okay, great, don't stand in line anymore. They need to have less cashiers or bank tellers. But then they started charging fees for using ATM. So first they outsourced the work to the customer and then start charging the customer to do the job themselves. But grocery stores, you know, going to self-checkout aisles, and now it's even going beyond that, where if you go into, say, a Sam's Club, you can on your phone uh, put all your items in your cart, scan them with your phone, and walk right out the door, and they just take a look at your phone, and that's your receipt. So you don't even have to go through a cash register anymore. And that's what my wife does now when she goes to the Sam's in Folsom. So just walk right out of the store, and it gets charged to your credit card. So all of these big businesses are figuring out ways to reduce their cost, reduce their overhead, and reduce their administrative procedures. And those are often not available to smaller companies just because they either don't know they exist or don't know that they have that technology within reach and at very low cost or free. And so those are some of the things that I'm going to show you today. And many of them are WordPress based because our sites are being built in WordPress, and because there's so many more coming online, almost every week there's a new tool available. So of those that we're going to review, some of these are out of date, so I've removed those tabs where we won't be seeing them, but you can come in here, and this is the spreadsheet that we have linked out here on our website. So this one right here, free and easy AI tools. If you click that, it's going to bring you to this spreadsheet. And here are links on the spreadsheet that go to each one of the tabs that we'll be talking about today. And so as we go through each of these, you can just come here to click to get back to those if you'd like to take a look again and adopt some of these things for yourself. So there are all different types of tools that you can use. We've been talking about search engine optimization, so I thought this might be a good one to start with. And this is WordPress or WordLift, which is AI-powered SEO. And you can see it's been updated recently, 7 days ago. It's pretty highly rated. And here's a video explaining how it works. So I won't go through all of that myself. I don't know. Let's see how long that video is. Oh, that might be worthwhile. Let's see. Are you able to hear this video?
Today I'm going to teach you all about AI-powered SEO and how WordLift can help you boost your organic traffic and make your website way smarter. Right now, we're living in the dark ages of SEO. Things are becoming way more complicated, search engines are becoming smarter, and organic opportunities, well, they're shrinking. And let's face it, the benefits of traditional SEO, they're shrinking too. As Google moves from mobile first to AI first, it's time for you to get on board and create that high-ranking content. What we call agentive SEO uses the power of AI to do that heavy lifting of content optimization so that editors, marketers, and business owners can focus their attention elsewhere. The difference between traditional SEO and agentive SEO is kind of like the difference between a vacuum cleaner and a Roomba. It's the difference between manually building link by link by link and letting AI do that for you. Tools like WordLift and WooRank use natural language processing, knowledge graphs, and machine learning to automate those super tedious SEO tasks, much like a consultant would do. Organizing your content and building your own knowledge graph doesn't need to be intimidating. Let these impressive technologies take care of that for you. And this isn't just a vague sales pitch. We helped one of our clients improve their organic visibility by 61%. And now they have more than 1.3 million new users every month. So what are you waiting for? Start your free trial right now and get ahead of your competition.
Okay, so that gives you some idea of exactly what we're talking about here and what I've been talking about. And I've been wanting to teach a class on this subject at California Capital for the last couple of years. And every time people see AI, no, that's way over my head. But it's really not. And we can do the over your head stuff. We've got 2 PhD computer scientists on our team and a master's in engineering guy. We all have real world-class expertise in artificial intelligence. But you don't need that. Those are the kind of guys that build, or people, I should say, that build these types of plugins. And so if you have the plugin available, that's all you need, and it makes it easy. So you can see here that you can install it. And now I have not used this myself, so I'm not giving a full thumbs up endorsement until I actually try it myself. But I want to expose you to the types of things that are out there and can be completely free to try. So I probably will give this one a try in the near future. And I'll see how it works out and let you know what I think. If anybody has any questions, I can help you get it installed and configured. Last week, we talked about monetization, and we talked a little bit about Google AdSense. And I mentioned how you can use Google AdWords to build out your site and use that for search engine optimization tools. And I should have included that here. I'm going to pull that up right now so that we're not remiss in going over that or mentioning what it is. It's ads.google.com. So this is where you can build ads. So you can see here, this is how Google makes all of their billions of dollars, is with this tool right here. And what they want you to do is create an advertising account. So you remember last week when we talked about e-commerce and affiliate programs, that you're either a publisher or you're an advertiser and influencer. And influencer is the same thing as a publisher, really. You're bringing people to the ads and having them buy things for the publisher or for the advertiser. And so here they want you to sign up for a new account. I have one, but I don't think I have it linked up here on my current, let's see. Oh, good. It logged me in automatically. So what it's going to want you to do, and let me pull this in order so we have it available for the next time. We'll put it right here. So it'll walk you through creating your ad. So first business name, business website, and it's not going to let me skip, is it? No, of course not. So I'm just going to call it Mobius. And I was going to just put something fake in there, but knowing Google, it would look to see before it lets me go forward. And I've not done any advertising for this, but you can see what it wants me to do. So find new customers in my area, and I can set up a radius. So in my case, that might be, really my customers are all over the world, literally. Even 40 miles doesn't put me where I want to be. I'm all over California. But let's see. Yeah, okay, we're just doing this for a demo, so I'm not going to worry about it. And it talks about my potential audience size based on where I could set up specific areas. So I could say, California or Sacramento. And my browser's locking up here. I'm using a lot of security tools that are probably, this is a spinoff of a Google Chrome browser called Brave. And all the tools are so tight, it's probably blocking this stuff itself. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll turn off my shields down like Star Trek. See if that takes care of it. Well, I apologize. I'm sure this is browser related, but we'll just accept what it's given me here. And then next, because the key part is here. So you can see, look at this. It already pulled this off of my website. These are some of the things that we do. You can see here, it's also suggesting business intelligence systems, big data systems. So I say what I wanted to advertise for. Then now it's suggesting some other keywords. So we'll just take it like this. And I wouldn't expect a big audience. That's why our clients are national. We're not likely to find a whole lot of AI clients up here in the mountains. And what it'll do, this is going to give a preview, but you can go into the details and it'll give you feedback on all of your words and tell you what you should do to improve it. And then you can take those words and build them right into your website content. So you're having Google coach you on what to do for your paid ad, but then just don't finish paying for the ad. Just don't do it. So you can close out without actually paying for anything, but use the advice that you got from this process to drive your content inside your site. And what we were getting back to here is this. So that's the tool that we just looked at, where the publishers go in or the advertisers go in and they'll pay. So when you set this up, they're going to know what your budget is, how much you want to pay, how frequently. That's your budget and review, and set up your billing. So that's how somebody puts money into the Google system. Now, the people who are advertising, and that can be you on your website, you can show these ads. So where if I developed the ad that we just looked at, here I believe, so let's say this ad, so Mobius Intelligent Systems, Artificial Intelligence, headline 3, lovely ad. You can see that that's an ad. You can control what you want the layout to look like and that sort of thing. And that's what you see in sidebars. That's what it would look like on mobile, desktop, and Google partner sites. Okay, and so then you, as the publisher, can sign up for a Google AdSense account. And then when you do that, you get paid. So if my ad shows up on your website and somebody comes to your website and clicks on my ad, then part of the money that I paid to Google to advertise goes to you instead. And so that's how you can make money doing that. And what this tool is, this is again a WordPress plugin called Google AdSense. And you can set up your AdSense account. And then here you can see the ads are automatically optimized using machine learning. So let Google handle the ad placement, comply with terms and conditions easily, increase revenue by showing ads when they will perform well, automatically show text and display, etc. I don't want to read the whole page here, but the nice part in the bottom line is that by using this tool with a Google AdSense account, they'll use machine learning to optimize and show the ads that are most likely to get traction on your site. So if somebody comes to your site, they're more likely to click on an ad than had you not used a tool like this and tried to do all of that stuff manually. So if you're going to optimize your site and use Google Ads, this is the way that you can use machine learning to improve your outcomes and increase your revenue. We talked about how the different types of chats and things that you can have, and how again it's kind of hard for one person or a small team even to manage a lot of the communications if you get things set up. Most big companies aren't doing that anymore. If you notice what they're doing on Twitter or Facebook or just about anywhere, for example, try to get on a tech support line, they're almost all chats. So it'll say chat now for tech support. When you start to type your name in, as soon as you hit enter, something will come back saying, "Hi, this is Doug. I'll be right with you. Thank you for logging in today." Something like that. That wasn't somebody typing. That was a bot. And those bots help keep people engaged while the real tech is sitting there in a queue, waiting to get to that person. The chat bots will keep you engaged and gather basic information so that the customer or whoever's trying to get in touch is engaged immediately, is getting something done moving forward. And it can be frustrating if the chat bots aren't set up well, but it can work really well if they are, especially if it's something basic. Like, for example, one of the bots we're working on right now for these, some of these recycling Facebook pages that we manage will answer where to recycle type questions. So if somebody comes onto a Facebook page for, say, Big Bear Recycles, and they say, "Hey, where can I recycle plastic bottles in Big Bear?" Our bot will read that. It knows what it's looking for, and it'll come back with a response immediately saying, "It looks like you'd like to recycle plastic bottles in Big Bear. If so, you can go to this location," and it'll have a link with a map and contact information so that that person's question is answered right away. So you need to train bots to do that sort of thing, but over time they can really become productive. And some of them are already so developed that you don't even have to do much training unless it's for something very specific, like we're talking about with the recycling situation, and where it would be different for every community. But just showing the results for a chat bot is, you can see all the different options. And we're going to be looking at, in a little while, for example, IBM Watson. So IBM Watson is the same top-level AI that's being used in the medical field to make new discoveries. So when they first presented IBM Watson, they took Watson into a cancer facility. I think it was in one of the Carolinas. I don't remember specifically which teaching hospital, but they went in and they found that they have 31 top cancer specialists at this hospital that were working on the project. And when they first went in, they found that IBM Watson, and don't quote me on these specific stats, but you'll get the gist. And the stats might be off, but the concept is accurate, to where I believe it was IBM Watson came up with about 50% of the possible solutions that this medical team of 31 came up with. And then within like a month, IBM Watson had read and consumed every single medical journal available on the subject matter. And as new journals are published, Watson reads them and absorbs them. And now Watson is coming up with solutions and ideas for dealing with cancer patients that are far beyond what anyone in the team or even the 31 together came up with. So now Watson is coming up with treatment faster than the whole medical team can, and identifying things faster. And so this same IBM Watson technology is available to small business people. So you can, this plugin allows you to easily add chatbots powered by IBM Watson Assistant to your website. And you have to have an IBM account, but that also is a lot more available than people think, including free accounts. So we'll cover those basically by the end of the class. We've already got a tab up to take a look at that. But you get the idea here. These are all just WordPress chatbot plugins. So it doesn't take you don't have to be Amazon to have a chatbot. You can do it yourself right on your own WordPress site. We mentioned IBM Watson. Here's IBM Watson Assistant, IBM Cognitive Class. So here you can see it was updated recently. Not many people using it, but highly reviewed. And here you can use Watson for the same type of thing. And you can see they talk about here, use it with an IBM Cloud Lite account, free of charge, without the need to provide a credit card if you take this free course. So they're giving you a free course on how to use Watson. Then you may get a special offer of $1,200 credit and you get a free account. So not a bad deal. And you could read in here and see what all it does and get an idea of how it works right there. So here's another example of where you can put a chatbot on your page powered by one of the most powerful AI systems ever developed and have it right on your own little WordPress website without paying a penny. Here's another chatbot, Acrobot AI chatbot, same type of thing, only this one's for WooCommerce. So it's a virtual shop assistant that helps customers shop, answer their questions, nudges them to checkout. Acrobot's a lead machine that captures, well, they always say captures 250% more sales leads. I never like those qualifiers up to. It can also do as low as none, but I guess that's marketing for you. But you can see what it does for you automatically. So it'll help do searches, upselling, cross-selling, giving sales prices, and you can automate all of these things so that it improves your conversion rates and increases your sales on a WooCommerce site. And WooCommerce, as a reminder, is the e-commerce platform that we reviewed last week and that I continue to recommend for WordPress. Replyable, this one is a two-way email commenting. So it's the same type of thing, automating a lot of tools for you. And it's doing it through email. And you can see also highly rated, not heavily used. And that's again an example of people not even knowing that these types of plugins exist. But you can see what it says here, what it talks about. It's aware, it listens, plays well with others. And I haven't used this one either, so I suggest testing these types of things. And then you can get premium features for $2.99 a month. Then you'd have to read through what all of these are, but Common Intelligence, Replyable recognizes quality and relevance of comments. It only sends the best to people who have subscribed, et cetera, et cetera. So you can get an idea of how this one works. I haven't tried it myself. This one does related posts. So if you have a blog type site and you're putting in a lot of content like a news site, after somebody reads a certain article and maybe gives it a rating, this one will suggest similar articles. So it'll use it to help people find more content and stay on your site longer. And you can see that this same bibliotech that runs National Geographic, Mashable, and PC Mag. So those are all big companies that can do anything they want with AI, hire their own people to do their own development with AI, but they're using Biblio, and you can use Biblio. So again, it's last updated 4 days ago, so we know it's staying fresh. And this is the kind of thing you can install on your own website to be having the same top tier technology that National Geographic is using. This one again, elevated comments. So this will automatically bring your best comments to the top. So you can read through and see what this does. This one's dealing with comments on posts or products for WooCommerce. Here's curator content curation. So this one will actually go out and find content for you. And using machine learning relevance, you can train my curator with simple up or down votes of articles. So when articles come in, you can vote them up or down, or your users can vote them up and down. And the more they vote up or down on anything, this curator will learn and bring in more content that's going to be more appealing to all of your users. So it's using a cloud AI model, and it finds content and curates it so that you can see here, weed out 90% of the spammy, off-topic, irrelevant articles on the web, and customize all these feeds to bring in what you want. I do this stuff right now manually. So I customize RSS and Google Alert sources to do exactly what I want them to do. And I already filter them through these things without using AI for the projects like we just looked at a little while ago with URecycle. But this one will do all of that for you. So it's probably a bit less work, and it's going to be out there working for you every day. Though if you're in my class, I'll be showing you ways, or have already shown you ways, to do these things yourself pretty easily too. Again, IBM Watson. Only here what Watson's doing, instead of Watson running a chat bot, it's going to analyze your content and provide insights about the emotions that your audience may perceive as they read it. And emotions are critical to all types of life, really. A lot of people are unaware that almost every physical action we take, or every action we take in life, starts with an emotion. And it's a cognitive type thing that's pretty deep in our psyche. Psyche is probably not the right word for that, but basically comes from the amygdala and the primitive parts of the brain. And these emotions translate into languages, or to actions. So if you're hungry, you feel that and you want to, that's more of like a physical craving. But other things, like say you want to smile or say hi to somebody, you initially felt emotion that was along the lines of being happy, and then your response was to smile, that sort of thing. And people don't realize they can even call them micro emotions. Like if people are getting angry, what they really felt first was probably fear or threat. And if somebody can acknowledge that and get in touch with the fact that it was actually fear or threat they felt, then they can deal with that fear or threat more rationally and not get as upset. But they don't even realize that emotion started first as that before it evolved and came out as anger, the way it manifested itself. When people are making purchases, there's a whole documentary called Buyology, spelled B-U-Y. So it was a study of purchasing and why people purchase certain things. And they did studies around Rodeo Drive and found the concept of branding and certain people wanting to feel like they belong by conspicuous consumption of certain brands and then proudly wearing those brands. I'm going to just make up an example here of, say, a Ralph Lauren polo shirt or something like that. If it's Ralph Lauren and has that brand on it, and you're hanging out with everybody else who wears Ralph Lauren polo shirts, and that's kind of your country club set, by wearing that brand, you're showing a tribal recognition and group cohesion, that you fit in, you're one of them. And that's part of what people purchase things on. It might seem silly, but it's true according to studies. And that's why branding can be so powerful. And there are whole groups of people who espouse brands and won't wear anything with a brand on it for that reason. They're not walking billboards. They're not trying to fit in with anybody. Or the reality is they're trying to fit in with other people who espouse brands. But in any case, emotions are very important. And as I talked with somebody earlier today who's in, or was, yeah, it was today, in one of our class, is in this class and wants to build a website that's around a product that's being developed that would be of use in like yoga studios, just as an example. So the website she wants to build is going to be have like a calming, centered effect, be very clean, minimal, but on target and focused. So when you think about yoga, you think about the emotions that that elicits and how you would think about a website. So you wouldn't want a website that's selling into a yoga studio where you go to the website and it's suddenly a whole bunch of flashing things and something jumping out on you and a lot of movement and no clear value mission or anything like that. You'd want a website when you look at that website, even looking at it and being there makes you feel relaxed. And it elicits the same emotion from you that would be elicited or would manifest itself in a yoga studio. And so those are the types of things that you want to do with your content. So Watson will go through and analyze this and tell you what types of emotions it's likely to incite in people that come and read your site. So you can see here showing insights divided into 5 different emotions: joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear. And they do this over time. So this isn't just, a person that comes in and says what, this is how it is and just writes this stuff down. These are machine learning tools. They're constantly learning and improving upon themselves. So this is probably based on millions and millions of pieces of data that have been analyzed, groups of language, sets of words. And it'll come in and analyze your own site and give you a feedback on what that's doing. So you can see it has a button in here, analyze with Watson Finds, and it'll go through and analyze your text and then give you scores and information about it. So again, very powerful tool. I guarantee you these types of things are being used by big high profile companies, and now they're available to you right on your own WordPress site. This one, automatic alternative text. So here you're using Microsoft's cognitive services vision. So machine learning vision is a specific type of machine learning where, let's say, for example, one of the projects I'm working on now is being able to identify trash by brand. So if we have people using one of our apps, which we currently have in the field, and for example, the last Sacramento Creeks cleanup, we had more than 2,500 volunteers out in the field. Some of them are using the app, and they would rate litter levels along different parts of different creeks, and they give it a score of like a 1 through 4, and they can also take pictures. So we're currently training a machine learning algorithm to identify brands. So if somebody takes a picture of a cup, for example, and then identifies that for us and says Dunkin' Donuts, and that goes into our learning system. When it takes another picture and somebody says McDonald's coffee cup, another one Burger King coffee cup. If you get enough of those, the AI, the machine learning tool, will be able to look at a cup and based on the colors, the ratios, the texture, everything, it'll start to be able to tell you which brands those are without somebody having to type it in. But it takes a lot of data to train it. And so that's how you train an AI, though, and it seems self-correcting. And then you might get to a point where it looks at a cup and says, oh, Burger King. You say, nope, that's McDonald's. It's going to learn from that and say, oh, something about this made it not McDonald's. And then after, thousands and thousands or sometimes dozens, more like millions of images that are being analyzed, it'll get smarter and smarter at being able to identify brands using vision language. And that's what this tool does for you with images. So if you had a lot of images that were being, you're populating on your site, then this will go in and analyze it and put in your alt tags to match your images. And that'll get you better search engine results as well. This one is Google Language Translator. So it's amazing. I think about when I was a kid and we used to watch shows like Star Trek and think about how amazing it would be if you could really do that. You know, when they had the universal translator and the communicators that it was like an old Motorola flip phone and seems awfully quaint and cute these days compared to what you can do with the supercomputers we all carry around in our pockets, which is literally true comparatively. If you look at the late 80s and early 90s, the Cray supercomputers that were millions and millions of dollars. I mean, universities would team up to buy one. And you look at the teraflops that they could do in terms of processing power. And if you have something like an Android, a Samsung G7 or later, or any of the latest versions of the iPhone, they are more powerful than the 80s and 90s Cray supercomputers. And we all carry them in our pockets. So that far exceeds what the old Star Trek communicator could do. And then the universal translator, we're not quite that far yet. I mean, I don't think you can speak Klingon into one. Well, technically Klingon, you might be able to because some of the Trekkies have developed that into a real language apparently. But let's say a language that's never been heard before by Google, it couldn't translate. But now I don't know how many different languages it can translate. But the last I saw, it was more than 100, where you can even in your phone, you can talk into your phone, and then your phone will translate that into the language you want to the person you're standing with. So if I were in a foreign country, say where they just speak Swahili, I could speak into my phone in English, turn my phone around, and my phone will speak back in Swahili what I just said in English. And then when that person speaking Swahili answers, my phone will tell me what that Swahili means in English. Then hopefully there won't be any errors in translation. But on your website, what you can do is put in this language translator support, and it'll translate your website into dozens and dozens of languages, including right to left support. So I have this on several of my client sites, and they speak specific languages. Typically, what we do is look at the demographics in their area, and we include maybe the top 3 or 4 languages. So typically it's English and Spanish, and then in some of the communities it's Vietnamese, others it's Tagalog from the Philippines, depending on the community. And so we put this in, they can build their website out in English, and Google Translate will translate it into any of these other languages. So when somebody comes on the site, they pick the language, and the whole site gets translated into that language. And one of the things I was impressed by was the right to left support. So here in United States, we read from left to right. Some languages, like Arabic, you read from right to left. So if you choose an Arabic type language or any other right to left language, it'll actually flip your entire page. So the content that was on the left will be on the right, the content on the right will be on the left, and then you read from right to left. So it'll even reverse your sentences and translate them into that language. And this again is all free, including WooCommerce Shop. So if somebody has a global sales platform, which is especially easy if you're selling digital content, it'll even translate all of your Google product definitions and descriptions into the other language, and you can then make sales in any part of China or Africa or Australia where they I don't know if you can call it they speak English down there. But, just kidding, of course. What popped to mind was I actually went on a trip to London, and my wife was raised outside the United States until she was 16, but spoke English since she was a small child, and several other languages. But we were in England, and somebody with a heavy Cockney accent was there watching one of the doors to go into a restaurant. And I tried speaking with him. I could not understand a single word he said. But my wife captured it all and got the accent. But anyway, Google Translator can help a lot on your site. And that helps a lot too if you're doing anything with public agencies. A lot of them now want everything in English and Spanish. And so you can provide this as a start. What I like to do is just to be safe. If it's something where multi-languages are required, where Spanish is required, then what I'll do typically is start with Google Translate to translate a page, and then we have a Spanish translator or somebody who speaks Spanish at an academically high level as a native speaker, translate it and make sure we're not missing anything. And then you can create different pages. So we're getting a little bit off track, but the translator part that Google will do, that's great for anything. But I want to just put that caveat in there. If it's something where your client requires it and it needs to be professional and perfect, then you can start with a Google translation, but then put that into text and have a native speaker who's qualified translate it and make sure that it reads accurately. And then you put that back into your site, but on its own page. And if somebody picks a language, then it just pulls up all the pages that are in that human translation page rather than Google. But Google works great for 90% of it if you don't have to be that precise. Here's again another one. This was just for malware, but it's using artificial intelligence to look for problems that might come up. So that's cool. And this one is also free, I believe. Here's a Kismet anti-spam. This one comes automatically in WordPress, deactivated. I typically activate it, but it's most important on a place if you're allowing comments on your page posts. So Kismet is on millions of websites. So you can see it's actively installed 5 million plus. And so it'll start to figure out who the spammers are, and it builds a library of this data. And when somebody comes to post on your site, if it's a spam bot or something like that, a Kismet will find it and block it off. And anything that you see by automatic, this company is what evolved by the original creator of WordPress. So you really can't get much better than that. He was a student at UT Austin at the time. Now he's a musician in San Francisco, but he still owns and runs Automatic. And this is that's why this comes built into WordPress. And Automatic also recently took over WooCommerce. So now you know that that's going to be partnered well for WordPress going forward. And Bot Libre. So Bot Libre, this is not a WordPress plugin. I don't know why they don't have HTTPS here yet. I'm going to have a talk with somebody about that because that's an easy fix and their audience would care about that. Unless, let me try something here. Nope. So I see what's going on. They've got a certificate issue. So I'll get back to them to correct that. But anyway, this is what Bot Libre can do. It's you can see free, open artificial intelligence for everyone. This one's a lot better if you have somebody who can at least do a little bit of code, but you don't really need to. So some of the features on the platform, you can see virtual agents, chat bots, Twitter bots, Facebook bots. You want to make sure you stay within the terms of service. And bots get a bad name because of how they've been used. But I look at bots like any other technology, or even like a dog. Like a pit bull is a great example. Pit bulls were originally bred. They were bulldogs that literally guarded butchers. So if a butcher's around a shop messing around with cattle, the dog was trained to jump up and grab the bull's nose if it attacked the butcher. And then bull's nose is very sensitive. So it could grab the nose and pull it down and control the bull that way and just hang on. And then they were bred to not at all ever bite humans. And even in the dark, ugly days of dog fighting, when these breeds were being developed, if any dog in a dogfighting ring, turned around and bit a handler or even a third-party stranger, they would shoot the dog right there in the pit. Now that's terrible. I do not like dog fighting. I don't like hurting dogs in any way. I love dogs. And my point is, because I was looking at a lot of breed-specific legislation and what it's based on, in years past when I had pit bulls, they were beautiful, gentle dogs. Never had any issues with them. But anyway, it was people that started training them to be like attack dogs and breeding them that way. And that's what made them start being problems with biting people. So it's like any kind of force or power or technology. It can be used for good or bad. And unfortunately, in the last elections are big examples, but it goes way beyond the elections. You had things like Russian bots coming in and promoting fake news, other types of things like that just aren't relevant, and generally putting out bad things into the world. But you can also use it for good. So you can set up Facebook bots that are within the terms of service. So it's totally legal within Facebook terms, and just use them to do good things. So if you have a Facebook page, it might be that type of bot that comes back and says, hey, if I want to recycle, a can and I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where can I take that can? And that Facebook bot will tell you where to take the can. So things like that are totally legit. The bad bots are the bots that um, just go out and just do bad things, pretend they're humans. They aren't identified as bots, and they spread lies and do whatever they can to kind of rile people up. Um, but it's a crazy world out there. You've got the Russian hack bots, and I shouldn't say much about it, but there are other bots that have been trained to hunt down and attack Russian hack bots. So there's a whole world of bots that are actually at war right now on social media. And we think of these robot wars as Terminator type stuff, but they're actually taking place right now on social media sites where you've got, let's say, a Russian bot comes out and spins out some totally false story. You've got other bots that are trained to find that story and counter all the arguments like instantly. And they're all trying to track each other and find each other and counterattack each other all over the web right now. It's a pretty crazy world in cyberspace these days. But you can build your own and use it for good. That's the whole point. And so this is totally free. You can download anything you need there. There's documentation. This is probably at least a little bit over the head of most people that are in the class right now. But if you've got a coder who could just do little basic coding, you don't have to know much. So you can use it in Java, web servers, on Android, and it doesn't cost anything. So it's a great place to start. Now here's one. If you're interested in this stuff, I'm going to give you a great lead on something that most of the world doesn't know about. And it's going to give you access to some free tools to do some pretty advanced artificial intelligence analytics. I kind of hate using the word AI, but it's such a coined term. I guess it's broader than what its technical definition is to most people. But it'll do analytics. We'll just put it that way, data science. And so data science is really what it's all about. And analytics is just a way of processing data using data science to gain actionable insights at its highest level. And so Salesforce has some really cool tools. One here called Einstein Discovery. And I don't think I have my username set up in this browser yet. No, it would show if I did. I have it somewhere, but I haven't been in here for a little while. But basically what it does is if you go into, it's this Trailhead program, and you can see SDD, which is a developer account, and salesforce.com. From this link right here, and this isn't very publicly promoted. So what I'm going to do is send you this link in your chat box. If any of you are interested, you can fill this out and get a free Salesforce account for Einstein. So I just sent that out to everybody. If you're interested, just click it, bookmark it. You can come in here and sign up for a free account. And once you sign up for a free account, it's going to give you access to Salesforce Einstein. And with that, you can just upload spreadsheets. So if you have a spreadsheet of any kind of data at all, you can upload that spreadsheet onto the platform, and it'll give you a complete analysis of that data. And that's kind of what all this data science is about. You just imagine we used to not have much data. I mean, there's more data created every day now than, boy, I hate pulling up all these quotes and not being precise, because I remember these things conceptually, but I really like to be precise. So let's just say that this is a conceptual quote and not a precise quote. But as is in my mind, and it comes from real science, there's more data created every day now in the world than existed in the entire world up to like 1950 or 1960. So all the data created throughout the history of humankind up into the 1960s, that amount of data gets created every day now around the planet. So you have all this data, and what are you going to do with it? So it's stored in a lot of different places. It's overwhelming. No human could look at a spreadsheet. We'll just use the term spreadsheet, but it's really like data tables. But say a spreadsheet. A human can't look at a spreadsheet with a million rows of data and 800 different variables and just pick up a calculator and figure out all the correlations. But that's what these data processing tools can do. So you could upload a spreadsheet, say for example, of all your WooCommerce sales over the last year. And if you upload that spreadsheet, it'll now do an analysis for you. And it'll say, hey, we've noticed that everybody who buys this red hat, out of these people that buy the red hat, 62% also buy this red glove that goes with it. And everybody who buys these brown boots, out of those, 40% buy these socks, 30% buy those socks, 20% buy no socks. And so you can gain all these insights, and then that'll help you pair your products. So if you see that everybody who buys brown boots, out of those, a certain large amount buy a certain pair of socks, you can now set up your WooCommerce that if somebody buys the brown boots, then they automatically get a pop-up that says, hey, nice boots. Would you like to buy some socks to go with those? And show those socks. And that way you're getting those using this kind of data analytics to give you insights as to how you can get more conversions and increase sales on your website. So it's a really cool tool. If we do a class just on AI, we'll spend about half the class uploading and analyzing data. But it's a really simple process. Once you're logged in, it'll just say upload your spreadsheet. It'll ask if you have headers in your spreadsheet or not, little things like that. And then it'll go through and pull all the data in. So it'll take a little while to pull it in, then it'll analyze it, and it'll even create a PowerPoint presentation of your data. So suppose you were going in to do a report to say you were going in for investing, to get an investor, or going into a bank, or doing a presentation to some people who might fund your business. You could create a PowerPoint presentation built by Einstein that shows the results of all your analytics from the past year. So you can see a little bit here that it's showing sales projections and how those would tend to increase over time based on your history. So those would be predictive analytics. You're predicting the future by analyzing past data. And of course, that's never perfect. There are always variables, just like a stock price. Past performance is no guarantee of future performance, but analyzing past performance is certainly better than throwing a dart in the dark. And that's kind of what you get with this tool. Here's also the Google Cloud platform. And so people are usually very aware of what all you can get on Google. But if you were going to go big league and really wanted to store a lot of data or use any of their tools, you can see they've got this compute engine that'll go through and do the analysis. They've got Vision AI, so you can derive insights from images, text, and more with auto machine learning vision and Vision API. These are all tools available from Google that you can use with any of your products and any of your digital type products or any data. And they've got a lot of different things over here on the left: Internet of Things, management tools, media and gaming. Most people think of Google as just a search engine, but it's so much more than that, especially with Google Cloud. And I currently use the G Suite professional Google suite of products, which is kind of like their version of Microsoft Office, but a lot more cloud-based, and there are a lot more tools that you can pull in that are in this kind of area in terms of what you can do with them, AI and machine learning. So that's another option. You can see here, it walks you through some of the building blocks. This again would be a little bit more advanced than what we're talking about with WordPress sites, but anybody who even wanted to build a business, if you decided you wanted to get into artificial intelligence and be a consultant and analyze other people's data, these are the kind of tools you could use to do that. Though I do recommend a data scientist, it's not as easy to do it for real. A data scientist is going to be able to look and see if there's faulty data, make sure the data was clean when it came in. They're going to be able to look at possible biases in the data or flaws that create outliers and throw things off. So it's like the difference between looking up a set of symptoms on the internet and analyzing your own illness versus having a professional medical doctor who specializes in the field do that. And so if you're going to start your own business, doing this type of thing, I'd recommend at least having one expert on the team, but this does give you the tools to do it without hiring a whole team of experts to actually do all the work. You would just need somebody to guide you and make sure you're doing the right things and analyzing it the right way to get the outcomes and information that you're looking for. Amazon Web Services. Everybody thinks of Amazon as retail, but overall, the people in IT, and including me, think that Amazon Web Services is even way more impressive than Amazon as a retail outlet or distribution channel. And they run a huge part of the web that people don't realize. And I'm not sure if it's true anymore, but at least for a while, even Netflix was serving off of Amazon AWS. So with Amazon AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, there are tons of tools that you can use. You can see here they're talking about they migrated 180,000 databases, migrated to AWS. These are a lot of the different products they're using. And you'll notice how they're doing their website. A lot of people are going more to these icons. They're easier for people to remember iconically. That's why you call them icons. So for example, something like this resonates faster. And again, if you get into brain science, my daughter happens to have a PhD in human computer interaction. She works for Adobe now, leading up one of their product lines for user experience. And we've talked about these types of things a lot and how the brain processes information. If it sees a picture, it doesn't even have to read. So you might think, okay, game tech, I see that, I read it instantly. But believe it or not, that's just another bump in the road. If you see a controller here and you know it's a game, then instantly that works. I know this is a chip. I know that's a database. I know these are tools. And then you can start using these consistently and basically branding your icons so that you use icons to match and pair information together. And that just makes it more digestible and understandable to humans. So when you look at these tools, you can see a lot of different things you can do with it. And just for storage, you can use something like Amazon S3, which is about the cheapest storage platform out there, unless you do what I do and have a Google Suite account. I get free unlimited storage for now. I'm imagining they'll probably change that once I exceed 50 terabyte, but so far so good. So Amazon is another great place to get tools and do analytics. And you usually pay by the processing power and how much you use. So you got to be careful with that too. They have free starter accounts and you can start with that and that might be all you need. But if you get into much more, you have to be careful because if you look at their pricing and how it tiers, it's you can see here's a free tier and it looks like they put a time limit on it now. So you can create a free account. Oh, here we go. These free tier accounts do not expire, available to all AWS customers. And then there's a 12-month free. I'm already an AWS customer, so I can create that free tier, but you can see what it gives me. So the free tier, I can get up to 750 hours per month, computing capacity in the cloud. I can get 5 gig of storage on S3, 750 hours on RDS, which is a relational database similar to MySQL. All these different tools. So it's giving me so much, not everything I might want, but it's letting me at least use all these tools for now and see if they're really applicable to me before I get tied in. And you can see all the different options down here. So here's analytics, all these different product categories. So if we look at analytics, let's see what it shows us there. So these are the options for analytics. If I want to look at business productivity, these are options there. Customer engagement. I'm not sure what Amazon Connect is. It looks like a contact center and an email service. Wow, so this is kind of cool. This gives you 1,000 inbound messages per month and up to 62,000 outbound messages per month. if you can use something like this, this is definitely something I'm going to look into after class, well, over the next few days anyway. But it can help a lot, because if you're sending out newsletters to a lot of people, you don't want to end up getting on Google's spam filters by sending out so many. If you're sending it out through here, then you don't have to worry about your website being identified. It would identify Amazon and probably bypass the spam filter pretty easily. So you can see all the different things you can do. Machine learning, let's see what it gives you there. So that's, you can see all these tools, and these are all free with the free tier. Then some, it looks like they have time restrictions, and others, no time restrictions at all. Media services, I don't know what the transcoder does. Robotics, AWS RoboMaker makes it easy to develop, simulate, and deploy intelligent robotics applications. I'm not sure how that would be used, but I see a lot of toys here I know I want to play with. And then here we talked earlier about IBM Watson. So this is the IBM webpage. And again, all these links are on the spreadsheet that I referred to earlier. So you can build an assistant your customers actually want to use, get started for free. All right, so this is, again, one of the most powerful computers in the world right now. You can see all the different people who are using it. Some pretty big name companies there. And you now have access to it yourself right through your own little WordPress site. And here's, again, the free tier for IBM Cloud. So this is also linked on your website on the post page and the spreadsheet here. That's IBM Cloud free. So you can create a free light account, and they don't need a credit card or anything. And they give you access to what it says 40 services here, including the IBM Watson APIs. And I haven't looked into what this is, but you can see that there's a lot available there that you can get for free that allows you to have access to the same powerful resources as a major corporation. And if you want to play with some things, this is a good source of data sets. So this is data.gov. It can be a great place to go even for your own research based on customer needs and things like that. So these are all publicly available databases that are generally created by government agencies of some type, and then they make them available up here on data.gov. So you can go in and search for anything you like. You can see here, this one's preset for climate. So if I want to know, for example, here's 328 data sets of precipitation data, fruit and vegetable prices, storm data, hydrography data sets, hydrography. I believe is measures like, I think it's the water content of soil, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see here, it even breaks down into agriculture, ecosystems, disasters, human health, transportation, food resilience, water. So suppose I wanted to create a product that was related to something around water usage. I would want to get some data to back up what I'm going to do and show there's a need for it. This might be a good place to get that data. And then you run that data through Salesforce Einstein, and Einstein brings you out reports like this that says, analyzing this data, we found that people in this part of the world suffer the most from these types of chemical pollution in the water, or water shortages or droughts, whatever it might be. I'm making things up here, but you get the idea. So this can be a source of research for product development or market intelligence. And then you run this data through something like a Salesforce Einstein or the Google Cloud Processing or Amazon Processing or IBM Watson, and it'll come out and give you reports that show insights that others might not be aware of. And you can create then opportunities. So where there's a gap in knowledge, there's an opportunity. So that's all I've got for today. Do we have any questions regarding anything we've covered so far? I'm sure not. You absorbed all of this and are ready to do it tomorrow, right? I know it's a lot to absorb, and it's any one of these could be a class on its own, even just any one of the plugins. If I were to pick something like elevated comments or setting up IBM Watson. That could be a whole 2-hour class just to start getting it set up. So what I like to do in these sessions is expose people to everything that's available that's like right there within their reach. And you see if I wanted to, how easy it is. So right now I'm on the WordPress platform, but let's just go back into our WordPress site and say we wanted to install something like that. So here's our class site, conferencereg.com. If I go to plugins, add new, and let's just type in Watson and see what comes up. Okay, there we go. So here's IBM Watson Assistant, Watson Finds, WooCommerce customer views with artificial intelligence analysis, nice typo, with IBM Watson Tone Analyzer. So this is the one that does sentiment analysis, is what it's technically called. So you can see all the different options here that we're talking about. So if I wanted to install this, I just click Install Now. And you can see it's by IBM or IBM Cognitive Class. I imagine that's got to be IBM or they make it suit. And then activate. So there, we just installed an IBM Watson plugin. So what I imagine you would need to do, I'll go down here to, you can set up the chatbot, customize plugin, advanced features. And you probably need to tie it into your Watson account. But you can see here, there's a tool right there to walk you right through it. So how to building a chatbot, that's got the instructions right there. Plugin setup. It tells you how to set up the plugin. And then here's your help support. And check this out. This is interesting. Want to make money building chatbots for clients? Become an IBM partner. Registration is quick and free. Get 1 free year of Watson Assistant, 100,000 API calls, 10 workspaces or chatbots, 200 intents, and 200 entities as your free starting bonus. So I think I'm going to do that just because it sounds like fun. So I'll probably do that, and I can let you all know the outcome. But you can see an example. So want to make money building chatbots for clients. So IBM apparently needs people. They need people to set these types of things up. So there's another example right there of a type of business that you can get into just from a WordPress site. And I don't know how much is needed in terms of coding. I suspect it's not much. So it's probably the kind of thing you can learn within an hour or two. But I'll let you know once I dig in. So any other questions? Let's see. Okay. Lots of exposure. Tie it in. Okay. So I'm seeing all the comments and questions seem pretty consistent about great information, lot to absorb, but exciting possibilities, kind of sums it up. And that's what I was hoping, because again, you can't go that deep. And what most of my better professors have told me over the years is it's not important what specifically they teach me, but what they want to instill is a desire to continue learning. And if that's where I left you, then I feel good about where we're at. So don't start with all of this. If you're interested in 1 or 2, start with that. So think about what might make the most sense for you. For example, if you're going to make money off of ads on your website, so suppose you have a site where you're providing copy or doing graphics and that sort of thing, and think about the types of things your customers might buy, or you don't even have to think about that. You just set up something like easy Google AdSense, set up an account yourself, and Google will use AI to decide which ads should be shown on your account or on your website based on what it knows about your visitors. And Google knows a lot more about your visitors than you do, believe me, until you start using Google Analytics, and then you'll know as much as Google does. You just have to tease that information out. So start with something like that for an example. Or if you are setting up chat, you can start with one of the chat bots that are built and not necessary to do any kind of coding, and just see if it's having any kind of results and how you feel about it. Something like this is probably not necessary unless you have a lot of posts or a lot of images on your website and you haven't already done the search engine optimization type work when you put them in. But this is where machine learning might look at something like this. If it comes straight out of a camera, it might have an image ID number, something like, dis2438857 is just the image number. And so that's all it would have. But something like this plugin here would look at that and say ocean, rocks, path, people, and create those words around this so that if somebody went in and did a search and your images have a lot of those types of tags, then you're likely to come up pretty high in the rank. So just start with one or two, but know that these types of things are out there and available to you. You don't need $1 million budget. And most of them, you don't even need $100 budget, but you can operate and launch some of the exact same tools that the biggest companies in the world use to keep themselves at the top of the pack. So happy hacking, have fun. If anybody'd like to set up a one-on-one time, get in touch, and we'll take it back to what we need to do on your specific site. And if you'd like to work any of these things in, we can talk about that as well when the timing is right. But the next class that we're going to do is, get back to our site, here is digital outreach promotion, including social media, newsletters, and bots. So we've covered the bots a bit now. We're going to focus on social media and newsletters, and I'll show you how you can set up some really cool systems that make you able to do everything in one click. And I'm going to show you how to set up a system that I currently have clients paying more than $1,000 a month for me to implement the system for them. And you'll be able to implement the exact same system yourself or for your clients. And once you see how to do that, you'll get an idea of how much value there is in being able to work with your WordPress site. So see if there are any other comments. Good, thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow during office hours. Okay, well, sounds good. Looking forward to it. And again, office hours every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 to 7 while the class is going on. And then, of course, I encourage people to set up one-on-one appointments as well in case we have more than one person on for office hours, which has been happening more frequently lately. But thank you, everybody. Have a great night. I was concerned because PG&E was giving me power notices all day long, saying I was going to be shut off any minute. But right before class started, I got a final message saying, good news, the weather's cleared up. Your power will stay on. So we didn't have to reschedule this one. But thanks again for all of you for hanging in there during those times when PG&E's trying to keep us safe, maybe not as effectively as they could. But anyway, we got to do this, so that made it all work. All right, have a great night, and we'll catch up again soon. Look forward to talking with all of you.